because we don't want the salmon to go down on our watch. So I'm traveling throughout British Columbia, talking to the federal candidates, asking them, if you get elected, will you be removing these salmon feedlots from our waters? We're going to meet on May Day, the 1st of May, and march to Victoria, to the government, the House of Government in British Columbia, to make them aware how many of us do not want these salmon feedlots. It is time for DFO and our elected officials to stand up for us and for our fish, and not these Norwegian monstrosities that are being fed food from Chile, starving one ocean and polluting another. So we have some really wonderful people here who have fought many battles and won. On my left here is Rafe Mayer, and I'll just turn it over to him at the moment.
Thanks very much, Alex. This should be a great day for everybody because we're visiting the scene of the crime. We know who the criminals are from their own confessions, thanks to that leaked memo. But I want to just say this about the DFO. This is not new. This is endemic. It's deeply rooted. It goes back to before the Command of Completion Project, when they were forced to make political decisions instead of just scientific ones. And I can't tell people enough about Alex. She has taken more shit and crap and beating than anybody I've ever seen. And she's now been thoroughly vindicated. And to take that around the province, I think, is an extraordinarily good idea at this time because of this. If we put the Tories in with a majority, you're going to have Gail Shea government. We've got to make sure if they don't get in, I don't give a damn who does, as long as they don't. And the same thing with the provincial government.
I came down here when I heard that Alex and her friends were going to be here because this is an important issue. This is a crime. It's literally a crime. We're not making this up. These people for whom we've vested the responsibility to look after our nation's fisheries are squandering their opportunity to do so. If you go to the communities on the East Coast where the cod crashed, you'll find families devastated, fishermen devastated, communities wiped out because these people, the Canadian Department of Fisheries and Oceans, did not do their job to look after our fisheries. And they're now doing it on the West Coast, and that's why we're here saying no. Alex has done the scientific research and work that these people, the Department of Fisheries, should have been doing all these years and all these decades. A private citizen has taken it on to do the work, and as Rafe said, everything she said over the last decade has been vindicated and shown to be true. And all we're asking is that the Department of Fisheries do their job, look at the science, look at the background, look at the work that's been done in the research, and make the obvious decisions to protect our wild salmon rather than simply supporting these large-scale international corporations from Norway who are not helping you and I and the people of British Columbia. So thanks, Alex, and thank you all for being here.
I'm from a tiny community. The government told us this industry was going to be good for us. There's 8 people left now in Echo Bay. We're wiped out, and there's 27 big Norwegian feedlots. It's wrong. It is a crime, and I'm very pro wild salmon, but aquaculture has another place.
So what would you like DFO to do?
I would like DFO to take the salmon feedlots out of the ocean. I'd like them to suck all the waste up off the seafloor and put it in barges and take it to a toxic waste dump. I'd like them to show the Norwegian industry the door, and I'd like them to work with Canadians to build an on-land industry to take up the jobs. There's about 1,000 people that would lose jobs if this happened, and I'd like to have those people taken care of.
Thanks.
Thanks.
Alex, could you comment on some of the recent developments in the Cohen Commission? Rafe was alluding to a memo that came out recently about the working together of the federal government and the fish farm industry, and how does that play into this election campaign that you're carrying out right now?
The memo that came out in the Cohen Inquiry is so shocking because they call the Canadian public's feeling towards salmon farming a crisis. Not the demise of wild salmon, but the way the Canadian public feels about the salmon farm is a crisis. And they were talking about being their public relations. So the taxes we're paying DFO to look after our wild fish, in fact, a large part of them are going to promoting salmon farming to us, which is basically pulling the wool over our eyes. It's a lie. The industry is not sustainable. It is not producing a lot of jobs, and it's definitely not harmless. It is damaging wild salmon everywhere in the world that it goes.
is there any? Do you feel like the political campaign is working?
It has been so interesting. So we've just started the votesalmon.ca, going and chasing down candidates and asking them, if you are elected, will you stand for us and our wild salmon and remove these salmon feedlots? Everybody is saying yes. Nobody has stood up and said they support salmon farms. Not even the conservatives in the riding where the salmon farms exist. He refused to come out of his office. We held a meeting yesterday in Spirit Square. I mean, he should have, if he really likes this industry, he should have come out and said, I support salmon farming, but he did not. So we've just started, and we will flush out answers, and if the answer is silence, then we will print that as well. But it's up on our website, votesalmon.ca.
The fish farmers say they can't afford to go on dry land, but they can afford to stay in the oceans. So obviously there's a difference in cost between being in the oceans and being on land. Who the hell do you think bears that cost when they're in the ocean? We do. That's not being borne by anybody else but you and me and all British Columbians. And that's something we should be very firm about. We should let the industry, we know it's not rocket science. You can't afford it here, you can't afford it there. Who's paying the difference? You and me.
That's very true. Very true.
I'm not sure that there's going to be a political solution until the people of Canada, the people of British Columbia are going to have to stand up. I think the solution comes from us. I haven't seen yet any indication that the politicians have the courage to do the right thing, to stand up to international corporations on behalf of their own people. It almost seems to me at times that our government's not working for us anymore. They're working for the oil companies or the fishing companies or somebody else. And I think that for our government to work for us, we're going to have to demand it. And so that's what we're doing here. But people all over British Columbia are going to have to realize, if you don't take back your province, then the international corporations from China, from Norway, from the US, from wherever, will come and take it from you. And you're the last line of defense because your government is not at this time looking after you. So anyone who wants to run for office, and certainly get my vote, needs to make it very clear that they will look after us, the people of British Columbia, and our natural assets, our rivers and our fish and our forests.
Whoa, whoa, whoa.